have to go to the root. We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain, stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put two dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Samir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coon. The white man to go nuts if he cash you. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
Queen.
We are
sense.
denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queen.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin?
Ahmadiyyah.
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, even to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame, and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations, I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
I'm getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation.
Queen.
In my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all in Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all.
Nobody knows why liars lie. Winners are not allowed to allow losers to rewrite history. It's God's side and the other side.
Country bumpkin, black blue, they can't go good. Uber bitch, and look like Mr. Potato Head.
I didn't want to be a movie star.
No, you couldn't be a movie star. Ricky Smiley can't act, cause Ricky Smiley can't act. Why is he in a dress again? P. Diddy be wanting to party, and you gotta tell him no. Said ain't got no special, you remember? Steve ain't got no special, you remember? Ricky ain't got no special, you remember? Sir, I have 12 comedy specials. P. Diddy or whoever you is, TDJ, 20 of them. I won't stop burning you down until there ain't nothing left. Rubble on top of rubble, and I'll still be bombing. Look like a wall, Richie. Look like a wall. You didn't say no. Look like a wall, Richie. Look like a wall. You didn't say no.
Okay, so hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right, so let's get into it, beloveds. Did you all see Kabami last night on Fox News? Because we're about to get into it. Okay, everyone, please hit that like button. Remember, it doesn't cost you a single thing to like and share the video. Also, let me thank everybody who sends super chat donations, cash apps, and sends me items to my P.O. box. I want to thank you all. Okay, you're appreciated. And for everyone who gives memberships to the channel. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get ready to get into it. Let's get ready to get into it. Okay. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Dr_A_Shakur, TikTok at Dr. A Shakur, Twitter at DGoddess27. Now, as per usual, if you don't like what the queen is cooking, honey, ask yourself, why are you here? Okay, because apparently somebody has been watching the queen, but they don't like what the queen be saying, and then they want to go and complain about me on my dear sister Lisa Cabrera's channel. Okay, black man, that's his name. We're going to get into it. All right. We are going to get into that first and foremost because y'all know the queen is so petty. Pay attention. Okay, and so let's see who's all up in here. All right, shout out to Mr. Elevation getting us started with gifting us 5 memberships. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, and so that all being said, you all shout out Mr. Elevation for the memberships. Okay, so hey, Leon. All right, Lillian X is in the house. G from the land. All right, Jamal, Deronda. That crazy beach Aries is here. All right, L Brown is in the house. Claudette, Sophie B. Let's get into it. Dervis, I see you. Jeff ATL, Abolia Faletti, Dragon Lily. All right, we're about to get it popping. Okay. Let's get into it. Mike Lewis, Nikki Major is here, Sandra, Sophie B. Shout out to my moderators putting in work. Okay, Miss Cookie, Trisha. All right, let's go ahead and get it started. All right. I'm missing somebody. Hey, April, Red Wine Entertainment, All Hell No, Leon. All right, Miss Evie is here. Okay, let's get into it. We next, aka DSB, Khalid Harleem, Chris B. Okay, so let's get it started. Shout out to everyone in the chat. And if I missed you, I still love you. Uncle L is in the house. Okay, so listen, you guys. Y'all know that right before I started my spiritual life on yesterday, the queen was minding her own business because that's what I do. And so I just happened to pop in on my dear sister Lisa Cabrera's live stream with her and my friend True Royal. And so there was a guy in there by the name of Black Man. He was just going in on me, Tariq Nasheed, Afro Elite, a myriad of other people saying that we're FBA, but we're sitting up here, going in on Kabami. So you're mad because we're going in on Kabami? Said we're caping for Trump and all of that. Even if we are or were, why does he care? Why is that his business? But anyway, and I've said a myriad of times I wasn't voting for Trump, but at the end of the day, if I did vote for Trump, that's my business, right? Why is he so upset? And so anyway, I had to hop up on the live and tell him a thing or two. Because who does he think he is? And so we're about to listen to that before I get started because I got a little treat for him. Because if he thought he was mad yesterday, he's about to really be mad today. Please pay attention. All right. Like I said, y'all know the queen is petty. So I'm going to play the audio from Lisa's live stream of what he was saying for those of you who missed it. Because some of my loyal royals were in the chat and y'all were going in on him, and so were Lisa's people. So I don't know who he thinks he is. First of all, I don't cape for anybody. I don't ever cape for Trump. What I do is tell the truth. Okay, if you don't like the truth, then don't listen to my channel. And I find it interesting that he was naming all these people and saying that we're no better than Candace Owens. I'm sorry, say who? How are we no better than Candace Owens? Because I go in on wanted supremacy, racism, police brutality, you name it. Now, you may not see all of those videos on here, but I do it on the backup channel for the most part. And let's not forget, I literally was just talking about the black man who was walking down the street in the neighborhood, minding his own black business, when a group of angry white men started following him, trying to give him some smoke. Okay, that's what we talked about on the backup channel yesterday. Right before this fool starts talking all this slick stuff. Okay, don't get upset because my political ideology doesn't align with yours, beloved. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
That's all I'm saying. So with that all being said, let's get into it, honey, because y'all know I got time today. That crazy bitch said the queen told him off, honey. Okay, because why was he even pressed? I don't care who anyone votes for. That's completely up to them. Why would I be upset about it? Please. G from the land, thank you for your contribution to the channel, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay. Miss I am from the UK said, Queen's tongue lashing is in session. Pay attention. Because clearly this morning I am on one, okay? But so let's get into it. Like I said, I'm going to play the audio for those of you who missed it, honey, because it was hilarious. All right. Now this is him talking. His name is Black Man. I think that's what he called himself. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I'm coming from a different perspective here. I'm from New Jersey, or like where you're from, Patterson. So I'm just going to be honest. I was going to sit the couch, and I'm pro-black more than anybody. But when I'm listening to people like,
now I want you all to pay attention to how many times he says he's pro-black. Because if you're really pro-black, do you have to tell anybody? Do I have to go around telling people that I'm pro-black? I don't have to, because everything I do exudes that. You can just see it. So please miss me with it, sir. But let's continue.
Tariq Nasheed, Black Alpha, even Original Queen, all these people are pandering to Trump so much, and I'm not a Kamala fan. Don't get me wrong here. But they pander to Trump so much, and you can see it in all their videos, all of them. It makes me hate Trump. I'm telling you, I can't. I mean, and I'm not no Kamala fan at all, but these people like Tariq Nasheed and the Queen and some of these people here, they sound as worse as some of these black conservatives. When you listen to their talking points here, they sound like black conservatives for Trump. And there's no way in hell I'm going to vote for no Trump. I'm not even sitting on the couch. I don't even want Trump in here because of people like Tariq Nasheed and them.
Mm-hmm. You know, I don't listen to a lot of Tariq, but what was he saying over there that made you believe he's pro-Trump?
Oh my God! Well, look at his videos. Look at all. I mean, I'm just saying. You know, I'm pro-black more than it. And don't get me wrong, I'm no Kamala fan whatsoever. But I've actually heard your guest speaker say she would rather have Kamala win just to piss Trump supporters off. I'm the same way. I'm the very same way. More just to piss them off. But yeah, I'm not a Democrat either here. But what I'm saying, Tariq and even your friend, the Queen, it's in your comments, they pander to Trump so much. It's just like everything that Trump does, they give him a pass for. Everything Kamala does, which she should get in trouble for, because she's terrible herself. But I'm just saying, I'm sick of these FBA imposters.
Now I want you to pay attention. First of all, he said that for one, how's he going to call Tariq Nasheed an FBA imposter when Tariq Nasheed is the one who created the term FBA? That's ridiculous. But anyway, pay attention to how he says that Kamala is terrible, but yet he's going to vote for her. And then he goes on to say, now I'm not going to interrupt again because I want you all to hear this all the way through so we can get started with the nefariousness. But he sits here and he's talking trash and he keeps saying that he's not for Kamala, but he's promoting Kamala and he's caping for Kamala. The same thing he accuses us of doing for Trump. I mean, it's the irony of it all for the Queen. Please pay attention.
Pandering to Trump, even Black Authority and Professor Black Truth. I mean, they do videos, and if you listen to it with a third ear, you're actually hearing them. They're actually telling you want Trump in the office. And I can't stand nobody like that because, I mean, and like I said, I'm not no Trump dude. I mean, I'm not no Kamala dude at all whatsoever. These kind of people like this are actually pushing me more towards Kamala. And I know a lot of black people that are on the fence here, actually in our state, in New Jersey here, that actually think like I do. They're like, oh, we don't really like Kamala, but when they listen to people that pander to Trump so much, they sound, these black FBA people here, they sound as worse as Candace Owens and them, and Rick Scotts and all these people.
Okay, well,
that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
You know, I wanted to add, if you know people that do go out there and vote, you don't have to vote for Kamala or Trump. You can do a protest vote. You can vote for yourself. You can put yourself in that ballot as well. That speaks volumes That speaks volumes too. I think some people don't even realize that. There are other people that are running and don't think they overlook that. That speaks volumes to them. And I do not support Kamala at all. I do not support Trump at all. I don't vote at all. But if I did get up and vote, I would put in a protest vote. I would.
Right, I could. And see, I actually heard one of the guys. There's actually a guy. He's a lawyer and a preacher, a black fellow. I can't even remember his name. He actually has a show, but he actually played a video of Trump saying years ago that for the black people not to vote, that's a vote for him. So I'm just like, that does make sense. When you do sit the couch, that's actually a vote for him. But like I said, I'm not coming off of this like Kamala lover, nothing like that. But I am so sick. I'm pro-black, and I'm so sick. I've been sick of the black conservatives for years. I can't remember all the names. Brandon Tatum and that Manna dude, and a bunch of them. Candace Owens. And now you have these FBA black people like Black Alpha, Afro Elite, all of them. They talk just like the white supremacists when you listen to them. That's what they sound like. If you listen to them, they sound like white supremacists.
Okay.
And a lot of black people are sick of this stuff. I'm sick of it.
Okay, I have the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur in my chat, and she said I never said any such thing. Sir, have several.
She panders to Trump all the time.
No, let me say something on that, because I listened to Queen Ahmadiyyah faithfully, and Queen Ahmadiyyah specifically said who she was going to vote for. I don't remember who the person. Dr. Sheba. Yeah, she said Dr. Sheba. Yes.
But I see, she does say she's not going to vote for Trump, but every time somebody brings up Trump in the thing of something he does, she takes up for him. She's oh no, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. But Kamala did. That's what she does, and a lot of people are noticing.
Well, see, the thing is, this is how I look at it. The thing is, we know what Trump is on. We know what Trump is about. We have had a full experience with Trump, and what happens is when people fact check, and point out that Trump did not say what he said, then people be thinking that you're for Trump. There is a lot of things that Trump said that I agree with, but the way he come off and the way he deliver and the utter hatred that he has for black folks, there is no way in my conscience that I could ever support anything. Let me just tell you something, black man. Whenever I do a Trump video, I get accused of being pro-Kamala. Whenever I drag Kamala on a video, I get accused of being pro-Trump. And I'm just...
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah. The last time when we did a live combined together, and I was reading the comments, people said that we were supporting Trump. And I'm like, some people are not good listeners. Right. Good listeners. I got Queen Ahmadiyyah. Hi, Lisa, how are you doing? Hey, True Royal. Hi, Queen.
Hey, Lisa, so let me just respond to Black Man. First of all, let me say this. I don't even know why he's concerned about what me, Tyreek, whoever else he was naming, why what we're saying or what we're doing or who we're going to vote for. Because everyone needs to think individually. And I always tell people that I'm not trying to tell anyone who to vote for, that everyone should vote for whatever or for whoever is in their best interest. That's for number one. Now, he's sitting here saying that we are pushing him closer to voting for Kamala. Well, that's his own.
You are, not them. You.
When I'm saying we, I'm not talking about Lisa and True Royal. Please pay attention. I'm talking about those of us who you named when I say we. With that all being said, and don't interrupt me. No one interrupted you. So with that all being said, at the end of the day, everyone should be thinking for themselves. No one, no matter what anyone says, can skew my vote. No one can make me change my mind based off of what they're going to do or what they're saying. At the end of the day. And another thing is, I had Dr. Shiva on my show. Okay. I volunteer for Dr. Shiva. At the end of the day, I attend his weekly town halls and all of that. That's what you don't know. But what you should know, if you are listening, is that I have said repetitively that I'm voting for Dr. Shiva, and that's a fact. Now, the next thing is what he's mad about and what he calls pandering and what he calls defending Trump is this. When people bring up things about Trump, I will point out if Kamala did the same thing, because she does do the same things and she's no better than Trump as far as I'm concerned. And that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. I have gone in on Trump just as well as I've gone in on her. Okay, go and check my videos. At the end of the day, don't interrupt me. At the end of the day, like I said, people like him are mad because we're not saying what he wants to hear. And I don't care what he wants to hear. I say whatever I choose to say. That's what I do. Now, when they want to bring up stuff that Trump is doing wrong, like I said, Kamala does some of the same things. And I find it all very interesting because he's talking about we give Trump a pass. No, I'm not giving anybody a pass.
You do give him a pass.
I'm talking. Lisa, can you mute him until I'm done, please? At the end of the day, see, this is what people do when they can't debunk or dispute what you're saying with facts and truth. They try to overtalk and interrupt repetitively. That's what they do because they don't want you to get your point across. Even if I was going to vote for Trump, that would be my prerogative, and it shouldn't affect you because what the hell does what I do, say, or think have to do with your life? You should ask yourself. But the bottom line is this. At the end of the day, voting for Dr. Shiva, and I don't have to tell you or anybody else, quite frankly, who I'm voting for, but I invited Dr. Shiva on my show for a reason. And the next thing is, Kamala does a whole bunch of BS. And then people will say, or if I say on my live, well, she's not doing anything for Black people. What has she done? And then someone asked me in the chat one day, someone who's a Kamala lover, and I don't get mad with them. I always tell people in the chat to leave them alone because I'm not going to get upset if somebody wants to, promote Kamala. That doesn't bother me because I don't care if people have contrary opinions. You see, that doesn't get me all in my feelings like it does the Black man here. But at the end of the day, someone asked me, what has Trump done for Black people? So then when I told them the truth, they got mad. So let me say this. Now, this is what he calls pandering, Lisa. Someone asked me, what has Trump done for Black people? I said the Platinum Plan, the First Step Act. I said, what about when he got A$AP Rocky out of jail? What about when he pardoned some Black people like, what's her name? The lady that was Angela Stanton King. Okay. And then he made it a law so that women couldn't be strapped to the beds anymore or chained to the beds while they're giving birth in prison. And then also, I said that he gave Jennifer Hudson and her family somewhere to stay when her family was murdered. And he footed the bill. So if you ask me what has he done, I'm going to tell you what I know that he did. Do you want me to lie? Do you want me to act like he didn't do anything just because you don't like him? And I also said that it's funny to me that none of the Democrats were ever saying Trump was racist until he started running for president. And I also said that if he is racist, and I believe that he is, all the presidents have been racist except for Barack Obama. Then yes, I said no Obama, but he still didn't do anything for Black people. That's what I'm saying. So what's the problem? What's the problem? Because I can say what I said. I don't have any problem doing so. And anything that I ever said about Trump that he did, I showed the receipts. That's what I did. So you can call it pandering, but I'm just speaking the truth. And just because the truth that I'm speaking isn't to your liking, at the end of the day, don't tell me I'm pandering. Because if I were, I'd be voting for Trump. I didn't even vote for Trump in 2016. I voted for Hillary. Of course, that's before I found out about her nefarious emails. So you can miss me with it, sir. Y'all hear the silence? To say. Y'all heard the silence? Where is he at now? He didn't have shit to say. Y'all remember that video when Diddy had poor Cassie under the blanket and he said, you ain't got shit to say. that was him. Okay, he didn't have anything to say after that. He didn't have anything to say. It was utter silence. And then he removed himself from the panel. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Please sit down somewhere, clown. Why is he worried about what the hell the Queen's doing or anyone else for that matter? Okay, sometimes you got to pop out and show ninjas. That's all I'm saying. All right, sometimes you got to pop out and show ninjas, okay? Did he think he was really going to sit there and talk trash and I'm in the chat and I'm not going to say anything? He's crazy, honey. I don't know what to say about some of these folks. But anyway, I have a treat for him, okay? Because since he's so mad about the Queen going in on Kabami, and I want y'all to pay attention to something. They love to try to paint Trump as the one who's divisive, but they're the ones that are divisive. Anytime you get so pressed and stressed about whom other people are talking about, or whom they're, voting for, or their political views don't align with yours, you're just a whole fool. Because this is about, when you're talking about who you're going to vote for, this should be individuality. It doesn't have to be group think. We don't all have to agree. Okay. And I welcome opposing and contrary views and opinions. Some people can't take it. Okay. And some people also can't handle the truth. But here's what I want to say to Black man. I know you're watching because you watch my channel. You watch Tariq Nasheed's channel. You watch Afro Elite's channel. All these people that he was talking trash about yesterday. Funny thing is, he watches us. Because remember when I said to him, I said, go check my videos. He said, oh, I check them. So you're watching my videos, sir. What kind of fool are you? Are you a glutton for punishment? If you don't like what I'm saying, why are you watching? But that's what haters always do. So Black man, I know you're watching. So this is for you, beloved. Enjoy. Now I hope he's big mad after hearing that, okay? He's nothing but a secret Kabami apologist. If you like Kabami, then say that. But don't sit there and say you don't like her and she's terrible, but yet I'm driving you to vote for her. Sir, I don't even know you. How am I driving you to do anything? Please pay attention, okay? So, like the song said, Kamala Harris. Now, let's get into it. Before we get into that Fox interview that was awful, by the way, she really showed that she was pressed and stressed. Before we get into that, let's talk about Big Meech being released from prison. Okay, so it was in 2021 when they announced that he was going to be released early, that his sentence had been reduced. Okay, so let's get into it. And I'm going to give a refresher on that for those of you who missed it. Okay, BMF co-founder Demetrius Big Meech Flannery gets sentence reduced. That was in June of 2021. So incarcerated BMF co-founder Demetrius Big Meech Flannery got some good news June the 4th, okay, as he received a reduction in his prison sentence. Now, U.S. District Judge David M. Lawson reduced Flannery's sentence from 360 months to 324 months, cutting 3 years off of his time. Big Meech was originally scheduled to be released in November of 2031, but now it looks like he'll be home in 2028. Well, he got here even quicker. Okay. He was previously denied a compassionate release during the stupid 19 pandemic. His brother, Terry Southwest T. Flannery, was released from federal prison last May due to health concerns. Okay. So, anyway, now he's out. And for those of you, how many of you once in the chat have been watching 50 Cent's show, BMF on Stars? How many of you have been watching that? That's my show. So they just got renewed for another season. Vince I am from the UK said the main Kabamian in the queendom. Pay attention. Okay, so yeah, so you all said you have been watching it. Okay. So anyway, with that all been said, the infamous co-founder of the Black Mafia family crime enterprise is out from behind bars, and now he's finishing his sentence in comfier surroundings in Florida. Now I want you all to think about the irony of it that Big Meech is out. But Diddy is in. Okay, please pay attention. Now, the Federal Bureau of Prisons tells TMZ that Demetrius Big Meech Flannery was transferred Tuesday from FCI Coleman Low in Wildman to community confinement overseen by the BOP's Miami Residential Reentry Management Office. So basically, he's in a halfway house. Okay. Big Meech was arrested in 2005. For those of you who don't know the history, honey, these were the days when we were living our best lives. Okay. We was partying all the time. Okay. Monday through Saturday. Please pay attention. Now, Big Meech was arrested, in 2005. And then in 2008, that's when he was sentenced to 30 years in prison after being convicted on charges related to drug trafficking and money laundering. Earlier this year, a judge shortened his sentence for almost 3 years. Now, it's unclear when Big Meech will officially finish his sentence, but the big thing here is it's no longer in a federal prison. Okay, Brittany K. Barnett, attorney for Big Meech and co-founder of the Buried Alive Project, tells TMZ that she's overjoyed that Meech is free after nearly 20 years behind bars. Okay, and that he used his time in prison to focus on his own personal growth, and he has the opportunity now to start a new chapter in his life. Meanwhile, 50 Cent has been the front runner in keeping the BMF story alive, delivering a successful docuseries and a TV series, even turning Meech's son, Lil Meech, into a legit actor. Okay. Hip hop has rallied around BMF for years. Snoop Dogg, 2 Chainz, Lil Baby, Young Miami. Young Miami, what does she even know about Big Meech? But let me continue. And even Eminem have guest starred in the series, which now stands at 3 seasons. It'll be interesting to see if Big Meech gets out in time for the upcoming 4th series, okay, which he has already been greenlit. So Big Meech might be on some episodes of BMF. Okay, please pay attention. All right, so now let's talk about Liam Payne. Sad news is Liam Payne from One Direction fell off of a balcony and died. Now, to me, it all sounds suspicious. Okay, it just all sounds suspicious. But anyway, his friends paid tribute to him. Charlie Puth, Zed, Ty Dolla $ign. They all said they couldn't believe he's gone. And they said the One Direction member unexpectedly died after falling from a hotel room in Argentina on Wednesday. Okay, Hollywood is reeling following the shocking death of One Direction's Liam Payne, with celebrities paying tribute to the singer on social media. Payne was 31 years old and he died after falling from a hotel room in Argentina on Wednesday evening. Charlie Puth, Paris Hilton, Liam Gallagher, Backstreet Boys, and Ty Dolla $ign are among the stars grieving over his death. One of them says, "I am sick right now. Liam was always so kind to me." That's what Puth wrote on Instagram yesterday, and then posted several videos of them together. He was one of the best. He was one of the first major artists that I got to work with. I cannot believe he's gone. I am so upset right now. May he rest in peace. Yeah, may he rest in peace. That's really sad. He was only 31 years old. And I know that he dealt with some struggles and things like that. And he had often had at one point in his life, been suicidal with an S, but that clearly is not the case here. And I'm going to show you why. Now, Rita Ora, who collaborated with Payne on the 2018 song For You, said she was devastated in a statement shared on social media. "He had the kindest soul I will never forget. I loved working with him so much. He was just such a joy to be around on and off stage. This tragic news breaks my heart. Sending all my love and prayers to his family and loved ones. Our song For You takes a whole new meaning for me right now." Several other artists that Payne collaborated with also honored him on Instagram. J Balvin, who recorded Familiar with Payne, shared a picture of the two of them and wrote, "Rest in peace, my G." And then Quavo, who collaborated with Payne on his first solo song, Strip That Down, posted a photo of the singer and wrote, "Rest in paradise." Ty Dolla $ign also took to his Instagram story, sharing photos and videos of Payne, saying, "Just talked to you 2 days ago, my guy. I'ma miss you for real, for real." And then Gallagher says, when he was asked by a fan if he had seen the news, he said, "I have. It's very sad." And he wrote on X, "Life is precious, kids, and you only get to do it once. Go easy." Now, the Rolling Stone The Rolling Stones' Ronnie Wood shared a video of the rock band's performance on The X Factor with One Direction. He said, "I am shocked and saddened to hear of the death of Liam Payne. It was it was a pleasure to work with him on our X Factor performance. God bless Liam. Thinking of all his loved ones, he will be dearly missed." It's so upsetting to hear the news of Liam Payne's passing. This is what I believe it's Paris Hilton. It says Hilton, so I'm going to assume it's Paris Hilton. I don't know, but anyway, sending love and condolences to his family and loved ones. R.I.P. my friend. Now, German DJ Zed, who collaborated with Payne on the 2017 single Get Low, wrote on X that he can't believe this is real. Absolutely heartbreaking. Life is short and fragile. You never know what people are going through. We live in times when we're being rude, divisive, and mean is normal. This is all true. Sometimes even celebrated. It doesn't have to be this way. We should do our best to be kind, supportive, and mindful. And then the Backstreet Boys shared a joint statement paying tribute to Payne on the band's Instagram stories, saying words cannot express the emotions we are collectively feeling right now. And it seems like the rest of the world is in the same boat. Our hearts go out to Liam's family, friends, and directioners around the world. Rest in peace, brother. Now, Corbin Besson of the boy band Why Don't We said on X that the news had him speechless. He says, looked up to One Direction so much during the days. You really never know when it's your time to go. Remind your friends, family, that you love them today and every day. Now, Ollie Murs, who also owes his career to the X Factor, shared a photograph of him and Payne with a lengthy caption acknowledging this news is devastating and I'm at a loss for words. We always used to have a good time, a good laugh when we saw each other. Sometimes the catch ups were only short and sweet, but when we did, it was mostly about how annoyingly good his hair was always looking and our love for Bex and the old X Factor days and tour that we shared together. Liam shared the same passions as me, the same dreams. So to see his life now end so young, it's hard. And then finally, boy band McFly wrote on X saying, "We're shocked and extremely sad to wake up to the news of Liam Payne's death. Our thoughts and love are with his family and friends at such a difficult time." Max George of Wanted shared on X saying, "Devastated. Liam was an unbelievably supportive. He was unbelievably supportive during one of the most difficult times in my life. I will never forget that. My thoughts are with his family and friends and fans at this horrendous time. Rest in peace, Liam." And then last but not least, Dermot O'Leary says, and he's the host of the X Factor, he recalled first meeting Payne on the competition show, saying the worst news. "I remember him as a 14-year-old turning up to the audition for the X Factor and blowing us away singing Sinatra. He just loved to sing. He was always a joy, had time for everyone, polite, grateful, and was always humble, sending love and prayers to his family." Okay, so rest in peace to Liam, because that is very sad. Only 31 years old. Now, he fell from like the third floor, supposedly, but I'm not too sure. You know, some people speculate that he did this to himself, but I don't think so because why would you from the third floor? That doesn't seem like he would have done that. I mean, it would have seemed like he would have done it from the roof. But let's look at this video because this actually shows the scene of where it happened at. Lights up, everyone in advance. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Then we're going to have a word from our sponsors, and then we got to get into Kabami's interview.
Right now, take a look at the footage from the scene. An almost haunting sound as you see the ambulance and the fire truck there. That is where he ended up hitting the ground. Extremely disturbing and graphic to think about that, especially considering the fact that multiple people witnessed it from the ground. The third floor balcony. I'm about to show you where that is, but before we get into that, take a look at this. This is one of these statues outside of the hotel, and it shows a bunch of individuals with their head directly to the concrete. Now, I don't know if that's a coincidence, if it's foreshadowing, or if there's something much more dark and disturbing about that particular location. Perhaps it was chosen on purpose. As you see here, a little bit of footage from Google Earth showing the specific hotel and even the specific balcony. You can see that's exactly where the ambulance was parked, meaning that that third floor right there is where he actually, quote, fell from. Now, I don't think very many people are going to believe the story that he just happened to fall, especially considering the fact that we now have it on record from 2017. There's an interview. He said Diddy was, quote, evil with his laugh, and that he was extremely disturbed by that encounter. He literally even used the word fearful when describing Diddy. That's from 2017. How many people were willing to speak out against Diddy in 2017 like that? Almost nobody. And yet he was. So if he's willing to speak out against Diddy before it's even cool or popular to do so, just imagine what he would say when authorities came and asked him questions like, what did you really witness? What actually happened at the Diddy freak-offs? And when those questions are asked, it could potentially lead to Diddy being in prison for significantly longer if he even gets out at all. And so that could be a huge piece to this puzzle. There's the rooftop deck, by the way, showing how far it is from the very rooftop. If he is trying to take his own life, he would go to the top. He would not do it from the third floor balcony. I don't care what state of mind he is in. This right here screams foul play all over the place. This, by the way, happened in Argentina. He is one of the singers of One Direction, a very popular group. And so this is a very high profile case and needs to be studied and investigated fully. I also find it very mysterious and, of course, strange that it happened to be in the one part of the building with one of the worst camera angles. Clearly, there is something much more sinister to this story. I'm Matt Wallace, and I will see you in the next video.
Okay, so you all saw that. Now, he did say that he had encountered Diddy, and at the time that he encountered Diddy, this was in 2017. He basically said that Diddy was with hold on, let me go to it. Hold on. He said, I went over to speak to him. He says Diddy was with Jay-Z. He was with Jay-Z and Leonardo DiCaprio. And he said out of them, he thought Diddy was the one that was most, approachable. Okay, he says, I went over to speak to him and Jay-Z, and as I shook his hand, he just chuckled. The most evil laugh that I ever heard. Okay, clearly, um, and he said that he was clearly still, they say he was clearly still affected by that moment. And so I'm a little bit fearful of that man. The encounter happened while Diddy was standing next to Jay-Z and Leonardo DiCaprio, but Payne thought Diddy would be more of the most approachable of the three. He later admitted that he missed the mark and described the situation as the most daunting celebrity experience that he'd ever had. Okay, and so anyway, with that all being said, clearly Diddy shook him. Okay, he must have been shook by Diddy. The end of the day. But hold on, I almost forgot. One more thing I want to get into before I start with Kabami, because Don Richard's attorney has some things to say about Diddy. Likes up, everyone, please. A like and share. Let's get into it real quick. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Remember, it doesn't cost you anything to like and share. Okay, here we go. Let me cue this real quick. Now, mind you, I'm just going to play um I'm going to put an overlay on the screen. I'm just going to play some of this because it's really like about 15 minutes long. Okay, so I'm just going to play about 5 minutes of it, and then we can get into Kabami. Going to fast forward till the attorney gets on. Hold on, you guys. I got to let you all see this. I've got to let you guys see this. I want you all to see how annoyed. And for those of you who've been following these Diddy stories I've been putting out, I know you saw this before. I think I showed it to you before. But I want you all to take a look at how annoyed Diddy is looking during this entire thing. Okay? Look at how annoyed he's looking. Now watch this. I'm going to turn off the volume because I don't want any copyright issues, but I just want you all to watch. I'm going to start the video back, but I just want you all to watch his demeanor. Okay? Diddy is looking like he is mad as hell. Look how he's shaking his leg. He's got his hands together. This is all you all know. I'm a whole body language expert. Okay, pay attention. I did study that. But look at this. He's very upset. What is he so angry about? Clearly annoyed. Okay, clearly annoyed. Now, I'm going to tell you, Eric said Diddy was about to whoop somebody's ace. Yes, he looked like it. He was very upset during that interview that you all just watched. I'm going to start the video back in a second, but he was very upset in that interview, in my opinion, because he was being ignored. Because the interviewer was specifically talking to Kalina and to Dawn, wasn't saying anything to him, didn't ask for any of his input, had no questions, and he felt like they were overshadowing him. That's what it looks like. And he was very pressed. That's how you can see the arrogance of Diddy. That's how you can see that he is such a narcissist. And he's also a sociopath, by the way. But you can definitely see that the narcissism, okay? Because these are your artists. You signed them. He should be thrilled that someone's taking an interest in what they have to say and talking to them or whatever. But no, he wants to be the focal point of their attention. Okay, so please pay attention. Diddy has always been low down and clearly nefarious. Okay, I'm going to restart the share.
Series of events of sexual harassment, sexual assault, sex trafficking, false imprisonment, essentially that she was threatened. She witnessed incidents of abuse against Cassie Ventura and others. And she has come forward, and I'm very proud to represent her. We filed her civil case over a month ago before the federal criminal case. The federal criminal case came after ours, but it was strikingly similar. Many of the same allegations that women were victimized, that they were terrorized, that they weren't even paid properly when they worked for him and made music with him. So there's the federal criminal case. That's why he's in prison right now. And I think he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life. And then there's a large number of civil cases that have been filed. Those are private lawsuits for money damages. There's my case, and there's a number of other cases with similar allegations, some involving underage people as well as adults who were victimized by him. In our case and in the federal criminal case, we're not just against Sean Combs, but against a large number of people who are accused of being his enablers, because we know from history, people like Jeffrey Epstein, I represented 11 of his victims. These guys don't just do this by themselves. They have to have a large number of people who are complicit in order to have an operation this big and to have this many accusers.
And Lisa, he is currently behind bars after being denied bail in that early pre-trial last month. Can you explain why such a high-profile person managed to have the judge deny his bail?
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car.
Well done, commercial, beloveds.
Unusual, and here's why. And
in that early pre-trial last month, can you explain why such a high-profile person managed to have the judge deny his bail?
Yes, and that is very unusual, and here's why. And it has to do with my case, because the prosecutors say he was tampering with witnesses before he was sent to jail. In my case, there's a woman, only one, who came out publicly after we filed our complaint and basically attacked my client and said she was a liar. Well, it turns out, the prosecutors say, that there were over 100 phone calls phone messages between Sean Combs and this witness right after the filing of our complaint until a couple of days later when she came out with her statements calling my client a liar. And then those calls stopped. So the implication is very clear that he was reaching out to her. I don't know if he offered her something or if he scared her or what happened, but that he's tampering with witnesses. And the judge essentially said he needs to be behind bars because we can't have witnesses tampered with.
And during a lot of these allegations, Lisa, including your client, which we'll get into down the track, is the language that P. Diddy allegedly used when kind of trying to intimidate alleged victims. So the fact that he has that kind of against him and then being told that he could be tampering with witnesses go hand in hand and what these people are alleging in the first place. But I want to get into the kind of the allegations of these freak-offs that you and I have spoken about before, but they're all over headlines that P. Diddy allegedly orchestrated these sex parties, these freak-offs. But can you walk me through what the illegal aspect of these activities allege as opposed to, you know, consensual sex parties that one might throw?
Sure. And you put your finger right on it because the issue is consent, right? You can have a big party. People can have sexual activity even at a party. That's certainly not for everyone, but that's not illegal. What is illegal is drugging people. That's alleged. People being forced to have sex against their will, people being exploited, people being pressured into it. For example, you're not going to get a recording contract, or I'm not going to continue working with you, supporting your music, unless you engage in this sexual activity. That is clearly illegal. And that's part of the sex trafficking. You know, we think of sex trafficking as moving a person from here to there. And that is one kind of sex trafficking. But another kind of sex trafficking is the commercial exploitation of people for the purposes of sex. And that's what's alleged in the government's criminal complaint, and that's also alleged in my civil complaint on behalf of Don Richard, that economic exploitation. Don't forget, you know, Sean Combs was really at the top of the hierarchy in the music industry. He could make or break careers. He literally had TV shows about how he was making or breaking people's careers. So who wants to turn against him? Who wants to stand up against him? If you're going to do that, you have a very legitimate fear that you're not going to have a career. And that's why this went on for so long.
Lisa, this power imbalance with these victims, this kind of grooming aspect, do you see any similarities with this case with P. Diddy to what went on with Harvey Weinstein?
Absolutely. I mean, we see this over and over again. And, you know, I mentioned Jeffrey Epstein, which I think is also a very good example. We know that Ghislaine Maxwell, his madam, was brought to justice for being his number two, for bringing women in for the purposes of his sexual exploitation. And I, again, represented 11 of those victims. And here with P. Diddy, there's no way he could have done this alone. And there are women, just like in the Jeffrey Epstein case, at the highest levels who are accused of bringing women and girls to him, because women will inherently trust other women in a way that we probably won't with men that we don't know. So that's a very kind of disappointing and heartbreaking part of the story. But lots and lots of other people, high-ranking people in the music industry who knew, we allege, who turned a blind eye, who saw what was happening, but who were making so much money, they just didn't do anything to help the victims.
Lisa, earlier this week on Monday, 6 new sexual abuse lawsuits were filed in Manhattan, which is the first of many that is expected to be filed in the next few weeks. All cases filed under the anonymous Jane and John Doe pseudonyms. Can you walk me through what's happened here?
Yes. So there are more lawsuits being filed all of the time on behalf of people who were adults or who were underage, who allege that they were sexually abused either by Sean Combs or by people at his direction. You know, one of the allegations is that at these freak-off parties that you mentioned, that male sex workers are brought in and then women who work for Diddy are forced to have sex with them while other people are watching, while Diddy is watching for his sexual gratification. And that's part of these lawsuits. We do expect more lawsuits to file. I'm talking to people all the time. I think a lot of people are coming forward now because they see the courage of people like my client, Don Richard, and others, and they say, it's time, you know, it's time for me to break out of the seat.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there, you guys. I'm going to stop it right there. So You know, that's exactly why Diddy didn't get bail. His bail was denied because he was supposedly tampering with witnesses. Because he had to have reached out to Kalina, okay? He had to have reached out to her because right after Don Richard's lawsuit came out, and then Kalina comes out publicly saying that, oh, she didn't have that experience and all this, that, and the third, and then come to find out, there was a myriad of interactions, communications between the two of them. So what do y'all think they were talking about? Well, in my opinion, I can't substantiate this, but I do believe, in fact, that Diddy was telling her to come out and say something to try to kill what Don Richard had just come out and said. Okay? To try to discredit her, basically. That's what I think that was all about. So please pay attention. All nefarious. Okay, DJ Big Six says round everybody up. Yes, absolutely. You know, and here's the thing. Let me say this too before I get started. You know, the young lady, Ashley Parham, that I spoke on yesterday, whose attorney, Ariel Mitchell Kidd, was saying that she went back to the scene. Listen, I'm not going to say that she's lying, even though her story does seem sketchy to me, but I don't want to victim blame. I don't want to necessarily say she's lying, but I don't know what kind of mindset she would have been in to go back to the place where that happened at. That would have been, in my opinion, the last place that I would have wanted to be. And also, why didn't the police? Now, she said Diddy and his entourage fled the scene, so they weren't there when the police arrived. But why didn't the police file a warrant, go pick them up, or something like that? I mean, that just really shows, if this is all true, just shows that Diddy has so much power, as we all know by now. But it's just very interesting that she went back to the same place. There's no way I would trust that guy. He's the one that invited her there, supposedly, according to her, and then set her up, had Diddy there waiting on her for the things that she's alleging to have happened. But what makes me believe that the story is partially true, if not all the way true, is the fact that she said he squirted her with that oil and her body went limp and she was basically paralyzed, and all of this stuff happened to her. Okay, because we know other people have said the same thing. All right. So anyway, so here's the thing. She needs to be very well prepped by her attorney as to how to answer the questions on the witness stand during a cross-examination, because the defense will eat her alive. Okay, just like the lady told her attorney. That's the truth. Okay, these lawyers that Diddy has, Mark Agnifilo, he's used to doing profile cases and all of that. They will eat you up and spit you out. Okay, chew you up and spit you out if you can't keep your composure on the witness stand, if you look like you're lying, you start fumbling and stumbling with your words, any of those things. Because I know I would, okay? I know I would if I was defending someone who had these charges against them, or if I was the prosecutor specifically, okay? So with that all being said, let's get into Kabami. Did you all watch that interview? And listen, I am so sorry, guys. I don't know what I was thinking yesterday. I had a bunch of things going on, but I really wish that I had showed the interview on live, okay? Because that would have been so much fun. So I hate that I missed out on doing that. But anyway, so let's talk about it. We're going to talk about it now, okay? Because Kabami needs to have several seats. Here we go. Likes up, everyone, please. A like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, so let me get this queued. All right, how many of you watched it? Did any of you guys watch this? Did any of you guys watch this? Okay, Shauna said the interview was a hot mess. Okay, about damn time say yes, I watched it. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone, please like and share.
You know, voters tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration, because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's
an
a rough
immigration
estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get you the question. I promise you.
Now, I want you all to pay attention to how she's already coming off as rude and hostile. She's already coming off like she has a whole attitude. Like the man hasn't even barely asked her a question yet, and she's already showing that she's just having a whole attitude about it all. Okay, please pay attention. Maurice says, I was looking for you to go live for this. I know, beloved. I sure hate I missed it. Thank you for your contribution, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. Let's get back to it, honey. This is all crazy.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021. It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate,
I'm
and they
in the
didn't bring up
middle of
that bill.
responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
6 Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you,
but actually is focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday, campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So That is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock trying to hold it all together.
Madam Vice President.
To ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Brett.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I'm so sorry for her loss, sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in all
her?
fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
Billionaires are paying less in taxes than we do.
I'm rich as hell. What am I gonna do?
Say it plugs it.
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist. They will tell you, we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that that's going to get fixed, Brett.
Well,
that's how this system works.
That's the premise of this question.
But
There were
that's how the
90
system
plus
works.
executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talk to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated, and I get it. They want support. They want support, and that's what that border security bill would have done. These guys down at the border, these men and women, they're working hard. They're working around the clock. I get it.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president. I will not do that as president.
So these are evolutions that you've had.
But let's be very clear. I'm the only person who's running for president who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations, from the Sinaloa cartel to the Guadalajara cartel, to people who have trafficked in guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career going after people who present a threat to the safety of the American people and cross our border with the intent of doing us harm and cross our border illegally. And I will do that work as vice president. I take that work quite seriously.
This is a time when voters, especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery. For prisoners. For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law. And it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's.
Now, here's my question. Why is everything that he asks her, she resorts to bringing up Trump? Lady, just answer the damn questions, yes or no. It's that easy. Okay, it's that easy. And I want you to pay attention because she speaks as though Trump is the one who's in office right now. She acts like her and Biden with their nefarious selves haven't been in office for 3.5 years. Okay, she keeps referring to Trump. Trump did this, Trump did that, da da da. Okay, but you, beloved, have been in office for 3.5 years. Okay, so let's talk about what you've done or haven't done. Okay, take some accountability. She said that she's sorry for what the people suffered whose family members died. The parents of the 3 women who died, or one was a little girl. But at the end of the day, she's not sorry. She's really not sorry, because if she were, she would accept accountability for her own actions that led to a myriad of people coming across the borders and some of them being criminals. Okay, please pay attention. This lady is a piece of work.
It's a public report that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition
well,
surgeries
you know what? You got to take responsible for what happened in your administration.
Yeah, no.
Oh my God, no, she did not say, well, you got to take responsibility for what happened during your administration. Girl, that's what you're not doing. You see how she's such a hypocrite? She won't admit to anything. Now she's saying that Trump needs to take responsibility for what happened in his administration while she's sitting here trying to make Trump take responsibility for what happened in her administration. Are y'all hearing this? She is really pathetic. This is all sad, honey. This is just a disaster, a whole train wreck is all I'm saying. Now, she's sitting here pointing the finger. She said he shouldn't point the finger or throw rocks when he lives in a glass house, but isn't that exactly what she's doing? And the sad thing is that she's such an idiot that she doesn't even realize that that's exactly what she's doing. That everything she's condemning about Trump is everything that she herself is doing on a regular basis. How many times have we heard her sit up here, sit up here and heard her say that, Trump did this and Trump did that, okay? When she's doing the same thing at the same time. I'm sorry, make it make sense. Make it make sense. It absolutely makes none. But let's continue.
Surgeries happened in this presidency.
It's in
so
black and white.
would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment
I will
surgeries?
follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think it's he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan in this election.
Okay. Again, here she is resorting back to Trump. Is she obsessed with him? Because that's what it sounds like at this point. Okay. And then she's sitting here saying that Trump's trying to instill fear. That's what her and the rest of the nefarious Democrats are doing. They're the ones trying to instill fear. Okay. Trump is dangerous. Oh, he wants to take us back. Lady, please give it a rest. Okay. Take accountability for what you have not done.
That is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas at $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are, though.
They say
on
it was
plans for
different,
the
Support the arts. He might be beloved, but she definitely is. And the thing about it is, at least he can answer questions when asked. All she does is give us word salad and then deflect everything onto Trump, as if he's the one that's been running the country for the last 3.5 years. Okay, please pay attention. I know you love Kabami, but the truth is the light. Please walk into it.
American people, I'm offering a plan to deal with affordable housing. I'm offering a plan to deal with what we need to do to strengthen small businesses, which are the backbone of America's economy. I am offering a plan that is about taking care of young parents and giving them the support they need. My plans for the economy will strengthen the economy, as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates, Goldman Sachs, Moody's, and recently the Wall Street Journal, which have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy, his would make them weaker, would ignite inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. Those are the facts.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as President of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn the page, Madam Vice President. You were asked on 2 different shows last week what, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden. Here's what you said.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I know.
And so that would be one change in terms of, but also I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency.
Yes,
and
it
like
will.
Every new president that comes in to office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, who were just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing, addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital and access to capital to our small business leaders, including my plan for a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and for small businesses, extending the tax deduction from $5,000 to $50,000.
We've heard a lot about those plans in recent days. Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers.
This idiot just said turn the page on the last decade. Who's been running things for most of the decade besides the Democrats? Okay, this lady is sad, very sad.
Fingers at each other. Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam
That
Vice
is
President, more than
turning the page.
70% of people
That is
tell
about turning the
pollsters-
page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than
People are
70% of people
exhausted.
tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president.
Support the arts. Don't tell me what to say, beloved. I already told you. You can support Kabami all you want, but this is my channel, and I will say exactly whatever I want to say about her. She is an idiot. She's insidiously obtuse, okay? Get used to it. That's what she is. It's not just me saying it. It's a majority of the people saying it. She's a whole fool. Okay, you know she spews word salad. You know she can't directly answer any question ever. You know that all she does is gaslight and deflect and bring up Trump. When she's asked something, when she never takes accountability, she wants to blame her own foolishness and ignorance on Trump. That's what she does. Okay, so I'm sorry, she is an idiot, and Trump is even smarter than her, which is pretty sad. Trump even has more sense than she does. Now, that's pretty sad, okay? So please sit down somewhere. She is an idiot, and I will call her exactly that, but let me continue.
That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
But you're
people
the
have
lever of
become,
power.
but listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances. And
Now, y'all hear this? This fool is sitting here saying someone who spends their time with personal attacks and demeaning. Isn't that exactly what she's doing right now? I want her to answer one question during this interview, please. Just one. If you could be so kind as to answer one question without mentioning Trump's name. I guarantee you she never will. I guarantee you she never will. Now, that's an idiot right there for you. What else is she?
it being about him
Madam
instead
Vice
of
President,
the American people.
if
People
that's the
are tired
case,
of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
It's
if
not
it's
supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a
so
cakewalk
are they misguided,
for
the
anyone.
50%?
Listen,
Are they stupid? What is
God,
it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you.
That was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy.
Now she has done it. Now she has done it. She has forced me to pull up a receipt. I want you all to pay attention. Okay, I'm going to let you all keep listening, but I'm telling you all right now, I want you to pay attention because she's sitting here talking about that he has, hold on. She said he's turned the police on peaceful protesters and whatnot. Hold on, because I just found this out yesterday. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Let me see if I can find this. So I'm pretty sure I shared it on my X account. It was a black man saying that his wife is about to go to prison. Okay, for peacefully protesting under Biden's administration, the DOJ. So let's get into it, commandments. Since you want to, here it is right here. Okay, here it is right here. All right, I'm dropping receipts on her ass today. That's what I'm doing. You want to keep lying on Trump? You want to keep bringing up Trump? At the end of the day, here's the truth of the matter. Let's get into it. I got the receipts on Kabami. Okay, please pay attention. Please pay attention because this is all nefarious. Hold on. Here we go. Let me close up some of these tabs. Now, y'all check this out. Y'all see this? Now, this is a black family, okay? And here's what this says. Attention, Americans. Kamala Harris's DOJ is sending a black woman to prison for 3.5 years for peacefully protesting outside of an abortion clinic, okay? So let's get into it. Today, hold on. Okay, so tomorrow, this is what the husband is saying. Tomorrow, I will drive my wife to a federal prison in Alabama as her offense is unlawful assembly. 3.5 years in federal prison. It's called political Christian persecution. Does life change a bit? Absolutely. Have I had dark nights? Absolutely. So many emotions, but God is good. Nonetheless, I love you forever, my love. We're going to ride this out, and I don't care what a media, a judge, or government or jury has to say. Nothing can stop what God has put together, and the love we have is stronger than death. God will vindicate this family, and our children and their generation will know to look to see what God has done. Okay, so I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. You see this beautiful lady here with her husband and children? She's on her way to a federal prison. She's on her way to a federal prison for peacefully protesting since she wants to bring up the fact that Trump sent the military to the peaceful protesters. Since she wants to bring that up, why didn't she bring this up? This lady's getting 3.5 years in prison for peacefully protesting. You see, this is what I've been telling you guys. They're taking away, or they've already taken away, our freedom of speech because she was protesting outside of an abortion clinic. This is Christian persecution because most Christians don't believe in abortions. They're pro-life. So you're going to demonize them and send them to prison for that? That's what she's going to do? Yeah, this is her DOJ, her and Biden's DOJ. All right? So please pay attention. And they're the ones always talking about silencing people and censoring people. Murray says, if cognitive dissonance was a person, it would be support the arts. Sorry, I said it. Oh, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree, beloved. And thank you for saying it because somebody needed to. Okay, somebody needed to. Support the arts just doesn't get it. And that's fine. You don't have to get it, but don't get mad at the rest of us because we do. Okay, Kamala Harris is not for Black people. She's not for the American people. She's only for herself. She is only for herself. And you all haven't even heard the half of it. Did you guys know that Barack Obama, that he got so upset because the actor Wendell Pierce. Now, if you all don't know who Wendell Pierce is, that's the actor that played in Waiting to Exhale. He was the love interest of Felicia Rashad, the heavier set guy. Now, he's known Barack Obama for years, but he criticized him on his approach to going in on Black men about Kabami. And then so he says Barack gave him a call. We're going to get into that next. Stay tuned. But at the end of the day, support. I'm sorry, honey, you don't like it, but she's going to get this work. That's what she's going to get. Okay? All right. All God says, people act like we don't have the right to critique the Dems who claim they fight for us. Exactly. I want my free money like Israel and Ukraine got. Thank you, because I sure want mine. Okay. They mad because we're thinking for ourselves, and just like any blackface, don't cut it. Okay. Exactly. I loved you on Lisa's panel. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. Thank you for your input into the topic, your kind words, and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Support the arts. You're going to just have to deal with it, okay? We're not Kabami supporters over here. And it's okay if you are, and if anyone else that we don't know is. But the bottom line is the truth's going to be told. The truth's going to be told. And I know that, support the arts, and people who think like them think that we're caping for Trump. No, we're not. We're just telling the truth, and we're pointing out the lies. Okay, so please pay attention, because this is what's going down. All right, this is how it's going down. Let's continue. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, let me start the share again. Let me restart the share. Yeah, she's really so mad and stressed and pressed at the end of the day. Kamala doesn't want to take any accountability for anything she's done. She's saying that her presidency, if she gets in office, is not going to be a continuation of Joe Biden. But of course it is. Biden's already said himself that everything they did together. They made the decisions together. She's even said it herself that she was a part of almost every major decision. Okay, so support the arts. When you sat here and said, when I was telling you that, when you sat here and said, oh no, she's not the president, the vice president doesn't have a say so, it's the president that makes the decisions. And I told you that the vice president is the president's right-hand person. They can give them ideas, they can give them critiques, they can give them whatever plans or ideas they've come up with. And so there's no excuse for her not going to the border. There's no excuse for her not doing what she was supposed to do. There's no excuse for her sitting here trying to act like they're fumbling and bumbling over the last 3.5 years has anything to do with Trump, because it has nothing to do with Trump. It has everything to do with them. Okay, so let's continue.
He has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you.
That was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the president of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes. Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. You call Donald Trump, you call Donald Trump, he's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
So how much did it cost to fill your tank? Almost $100. How much is the car payment? $140.
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have...
Now want you all to pay attention to something. I want you all to pay attention to something. So she's sitting here when he's asking her about Biden. She says Donald Trump is on the ballot. She again brings up Trump. Funny thing is, when he's asking her about the Biden administration's policies or things they have or haven't done, she brings up Trump. Okay, but Biden is the president. You see how she is? She wants to bring up Trump when there's no need to because he doesn't have anything to do with her and Biden's foolishness. But then when she's asked about Joe, she wants to say, well, Trump's on the ballot. This lady is a whole hot mess. Okay, I'm just ready for this to end so we can get into what people are saying about it because she's a whole fool at this point.
Have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out, even people who worked for him in the Oval Office, worked with him in the Situation Room, and have said he is unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again, including his former vice president, which is why the job was open for him to choose another running mate. So that is a fact. That is a fact.
Madam Vice President, two more things. You were asked on 60 Minutes about the biggest threat that the world faces, that the U.S. faces. This is what you said.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
A number of experts thought you would say China. The FBI director had said that. But you said Iran. If that's the case, what do you say to critics who look at the actions of your administration and say you're not acting like Iran is the #1 threat?
Well, I will tell you most recently, whether it was in April or in October, and then several hours on each occasion that Iran posed a threat to Israel, I was there. Most recently in the Situation Room, in the most recent attack, working with the heads of our military and doing what America must always do to defend and to support Israel in its requirement to defend itself and to give American support to be able to allow Israel to have the resources to defend itself against attack, including from Iran and Iran's terrorist proxies in the region.
Right.
And that
But those
is,
proxies were getting
and
funded
my
by Iran.
commitment to that is unyielding and unwavering.
Critics just say that you either relaxed or failed to enforce sanctions on Iran, allowing all of this money to flow into Iran, like billions.
Let's go back to Donald Trump, who pulled out of a deal that would have actually put Iran in check.
The estimates in billions.
It was during Donald Trump's
that
administration
go towards
that
the Iran regime.
That we had an American military base that was attacked, where American soldiers suffered traumatic brain injuries, and Donald Trump dismissed them as headaches, not to mention how Donald Trump has
all of this money
has treated and talked about America's military and military service people, calling them suckers and losers,
Hamas,
has diminished
and
the
Houthis.
significance.
We're talking over each other. I apologize.
I would like that we would have a conversation that is grounded in full assessment of the facts, which includes, I think this interview is supposed to be about the choices that your viewers should be presented about this election, and the contrast is important.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the subject of Iran, I am offering what should be an important contrast that is presented for folks to make a decision that they feel.
Who look at what the administration did and say and think differently. Madam Vice President, they're wrapping me very hard here. I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things.
There's more to say. I have much more to say.
There are a lot of things that people want to learn about you and your policies, and that's why we invited you here.
I invite everyone. To go to KamalaHarris.com, and you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive and should be accessible to anyone who would like to read them. And it includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to do about small businesses, what I do.
And that's why we invited you here
our economy,
to see where you were in 2019 and where you are now.
America's military and ensure we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world.
Madam Vice President,
And
they're giving me a hard rap
Well,
here.
I thank you for the time.
I thank you for the time.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Was all so sad, okay? At the end of the day, now the Kabami apologist will say that she did a good job and that she went into hostile territory. Well, the only thing that was hostile about the interview was her, okay? That's just the bottom line. Desmond says, my ears can't take this Kabami mess, okay? I know, honey, because mine can either. Sorry I had to torture you guys, but we had to hear it, okay? Thank you for your insight to the topic and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings, okay? With that all being said, let's get into it because here's the thing. I want to know what other people are saying about it. At the end of the day, I put up the wrong super chat. Hold on. Somebody else sent one. I was trying to find it real quick. Here we go. All got sent another one saying Kamala can't count on nothing but hell. We about to raise. Kamala can't count on nothing but hell we're about to raise. And since she don't want to be accountable, we will account for this butt whooping that we owe her and her party. With interest and fees, because she was playing with it. Okay, she is absolutely making a whole fool of herself. All right, thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. So here's the thing. Let's talk about what people are saying about this, because this is what I want to hear. First person that I want to start with is Brett Baer, the guy who actually interviewed her. Okay, so let's go to him real quick and see what he, in fact, had to say. All right, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
Trump's chart that he loves so much shows that. That's the chart that saved his life in Butler, PA. And she just denied it and wouldn't answer it. I was more shocked at her lack of apology to people that died by these unvetted illegal immigrants that came in because of their policies.
Yeah. So I studied how she's answered immigration before, and it really does go through a TikTok. You know, she says when they first arrive in office, they put forward this bill and it didn't go through. But she doesn't talk about the bill. It was an amnesty bill for 11 million illegal aliens inside the country over 8 years. They had control of the White House, the Senate, and the House, and yet the Democratic leadership didn't put that bill forward, and the White House really didn't even push it. But she starts there, and then she says there's this evolution. She tried to do all these things with the president, and then they had this comprehensive effort, this bipartisan bill. The bipartisan bill was voted against by 8 Democrats, and it had some major problems that conservatives didn't like. There were about 1.8 million illegal immigrants that would be let in every year. And there were all kinds of other stipulations that conservatives didn't like. So it didn't have a chance. She says that these things happened very quickly. The one bill and the other bill, there were 3.5 years in between them. And in that time, 94 executive orders were rescinded, among them catch and release and remain in Mexico. And that's why a lot of these people were released. It's, you know, there's different numbers, but if you go by the Homeland Security Secretary, 85% of the apprehensions, it's more than 6 million people. And some of them committed heinous crimes. And that's why I wanted to go down that road at the beginning. And I spent a lot of time on it, but I thought nobody else would go into that depth, and I figured it was worth it.
I think it was enlightening, and I think if you didn't follow up and you didn't press it and you didn't inform viewers about what was actually in that bill, because you're right, she gives the same answer. The only answer that I got to give her credit she didn't use is she didn't say, did you know I came from a middle-class family? I expected that answer at some point.
I was expecting that answer too, honestly. I came from a middle-class family. My mother raised us. People had nice lawns. I was waiting on that too. Okay, so that all being said, now I want to know what people are saying about her in other countries. So let's go to that in a second. Hold on. Lights up, everyone, please.
There was a moment
like
there
and
where I
share.
really thought I was going to pass out.
You have 2 enormous threats that are out there.
not because Brett was biased, but because he kept going back to the record and back to the truth and back to clear questions. Now, here, I want to be very clear about how really worried I am. You have two enormous threats that are out there that are totally outside the American tradition. The first, which you've indicated a little bit of tonight, is people who are on the left so paranoid, so frightened, so out of touch with reality, you don't know what they're going to do. And I think this is a very real problem with almost a mental health kind of problem, but it could have very direct, very real consequences. You know, for a long time, they thought that the effort to impeach Trump would stop him. Then they thought that January 6th would stop him. Then they thought that the courts would stop him. He just keeps coming. And I think at some point, the desperation of those on the left who see him legitimately as the end of their world, which is what he is, could lead to activities that really we have to worry about a lot. The other thing, which I don't think is talked about enough, the Iranians have clearly said they want to kill Trump. Now, I've been delighted that Speaker Johnson has spoken up and said bluntly that an Iranian attack on an American political leader would in fact be an act of war and would lead to war. And even President Biden has said that attacking an American leader would be an act of war. But I think we need to be really concerned because the Iranians have a long history of trying to kill people and assassinate people. And so between those two, I think we have to have a constant concern for the safety of President Trump because he's showing enormous courage. He continues to campaign. He continues to be vulnerable. He continues to be out with the American people. And yet a tiny percent of the American people verge on being crazy. And the Iranians really have a long history of trying to kill people. So that's my biggest worry I think.
Now, I just want to remind you guys that like I've told you before, I've been telling you guys since 2020 that I had those two dreams about Trump being assassinated. Now, in the dream, Trump was sitting in a wheelchair. Okay, so just remember I told you that. In my dream, Trump was sitting in a wheelchair and the Secret Service was involved in it. I just want you guys to remember that, okay, at the end of the day. Now, let's go to what they're saying about Kabami in Australia.
Vodka soda.
Harris campaign, her interview on Fox News was a train wreck, a hot mess on a...
I know she didn't say it was a train wreck and a hot mess. Let's get into it because this just goes to show what the world is thinking about Kabami. Please pay attention. Okay, this is what the world is thinking. See, support the arts, beloved. It isn't just us. The whole world thinks she's an idiot. In fact, they know she is. Okay, but let's continue.
Today was a bad day for the Kamala Harris campaign. Her interview on Fox News was a train wreck, a hot mess on a number of levels. In Brett Baier, she faced a real interviewer who asked pertinent questions about the border, inflation, her record, and she floundered. She was evasive, she was incoherent, she was sometimes nonsensical. Whoever in her team thought she was ready for a real interview should be sacked immediately. Let's have a look at some of the more notable moments. I could play you the whole interview, but we don't have the time.
Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page. Rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been
for almost 4 years. The Democrats have been in power 12 of the last 16 years, but everything is Donald Trump's fault, apparently. We're turning the page from Trump. Now, watch here as she tries to filibuster and mislead about what the Biden-Harris administration's record on illegal immigration has been. But for once, Her nonsense is called out because this interviewer knows the facts.
How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have.
Now, you all remember right there, she definitely wasn't going to answer that question directly because it's been millions, okay, over 10 million that they have allowed into the country.
And
Just waffle, no answers. She doesn't have anything significant, substantial to say about these critical issues. Now watch here as Kamala gets all heated up, ranting and raving about Trump wanting to lock up his political opponents. Isn't that precisely what the Democrats have actually been doing?
See, didn't I tell you guys that? The world is watching, Democrats. Didn't I tell you guys that's exactly what they've been doing? Everything that they have accused Trump of, they literally have done it themselves. That's just a fact. That is absolutely a fact.
It's talked about locking people up because they disagree.
Of emboldening and enriching the Iranian regime. This is what Harris had to say.
Critics just say that you either relaxed or failed to enforce sanctions on Iran, allowing all of this money to flow into Iran, like billions.
Let's go back to Donald Trump, who pulled out of a deal.
And the final highlight, or should that be low light, is when Brett Baer asked Kamala when she finally noticed that Joe Biden had some issues with cognitive decline. She is momentarily speechless.
You call Donald Trump, he's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions.
Now, here's the thing, guys. At this point in the interview, this is when we all should have known that she's crazy. This is when we all should have known that she suffers from something called insanity. Now, she sat there and talked about Joe Biden's judgment and acted as if everything was okay. He didn't have any cognitive issues. The fact of the matter is she's so stupid for saying that, because if that were true, she would not be sitting there. Joe Biden would be sitting there. Joe Biden is not sitting there because his own party ran him up out of there, did a whole coup on him, and put her in his place because they feel that he's not cognitively correct. Okay? They feel like there's something wrong with him cognitively. All right? So I'm sorry. When she's sitting here trying to say the same about Trump, but then when they ask her about Joe, she wants to act like everything's all fine and dandy. That is such a ridiculous statement for her to even have tried to paint as a narrative. Because she wouldn't be sitting there. Okay, that's obvious. And she should have just said, listen, at the end of the day, Joe is not on his game as he used to be. He's not the same person that he was 4 years ago. But he still, has common sense. That would have sounded better than her sitting there trying to lie and fake the funk and acting like it's all gravy. Girl, please sit down somewhere. Okay, I'm sorry. Support the arts. I know you are crying in the car, beloved, but let's continue.
On behalf of the American people.
Then why are you the presidential candidate? None of it makes any sense. Joining me now is Sky News contributor Kosha Gator. Kosha, she took a big gamble being interviewed by someone like Brett Baer, who you've got to say, it's not like she was interviewed by Sean Hannity or Tucker Carlson or Greg Gutfeld. You would expect that a presidential candidate could handle a tough interviewer who plays it straight down the line, and she floundered.
She did take a gamble, and that is the $1 million question. You could see she did not want to be there. She couldn't get out of there fast enough, and she did it because she has to. This race is very, very, very tight, and the momentum is with Trump. And historically, there is precedent where they begrudgingly, the Democrat candidate begrudgingly will give one Fox News interview when there's 20, 30 days left. Obama did it, Hillary did it. It used to be with Bill O'Reilly. So maybe she has to do that because they have a big audience, a lot of independents, and actually, frankly, Democrats watch Fox News. Yeah. But she was not prepared. She was not prepared. To me, the big takeaway is she remained substance-free. She does so by filibustering, using filler words. She said multiple times, let's be clear, let's be clear. She's never clear. And she hides behind others. Like she likes to hide behind the legislative branch because everything was like, I will follow the law. Congress needs to act. So she shifts blame without ever weighing in on her position. Yes, she doesn't pass laws, but she can weigh in on which laws she thinks are better or not. And she wouldn't do it. And he had her dead to rights.
And he knew the facts. When she brings up nonsense about this was the first thing we addressed and we had this bill. Well, yeah, that bill was just going to create a pathway to citizenship for millions of illegal immigrants. That's not going to solve the border crisis. Right. And he knew that level of detail. And I've seen so many interviews with her where that's not followed up. There really is, very frustrating to watch.
We fight for the future where we lower the cost of living for America's families.
Bringing down growth.
Okay, so with that all being said, let's see. Let's see what some of the people are saying about this interview. Okay, likes up, everyone, please like and share. Okay, here we go. Likes up, everyone. Just a whole hot mess. Clearly a train wreck. Now, I'm just going to show a couple of these so we can move on to Obama trying to call somebody about criticizing him. Like, who is he?
For an interview on Fox News, and it was an utter calamity. I took copious notes, and let's just say joy has left the building. What became abundantly clear in this interview is that Kamala Harris, because she's never been pressed before, the second you press her on anything, she crumbles. She cracks and crumbles like a fortune cookie that's been run over by an 18-wheeler. Shattered. Right from the beginning, she was asked about immigration, which is her least favorite subject because she's overseen the worst immigration crisis in American history. She immediately tries to blame Donald Trump for the crisis at the border, but Brett Baier, he says, no, 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 you guys rolled back all of those executive measures like Remain in Mexico that were keeping the crisis under control. Kamala continues to talk about this amnesty bill she was pushing her first day in office. That was a bill that would have given citizenship to 11 million migrants. In 2021, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they had the House, the Senate, and the White House. She is lying when she says Donald Trump is responsible for the crisis at the border. Another key moment is that for the first time ever, Kamala Harris was asked, when did you know Joe Biden was in cognitive decline? You would think she has an answer rehearsed for this, but she says, well, Biden's not on the ballot. Trump's on the ballot. Biden's not on the ballot. Yes, sweetheart, we know that. That's why you're sitting here. Kamala, maybe you stopped at Chili's on the way to the interview for a couple of margaritas, but we understand Joe Biden is no longer on the ballot because you, Nancy Pelosi, and other Democrats shanked him and threw him out like the trash. Throughout the interview, when Kamala Harris does not have answers for Brett Baier's question, she says, well, Donald Trump, he's unstable. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Well, guess what? Donald Trump is beating you in many of these polls. She really got hit with the reverse Uno card, whatcha? Because if Donald Trump is so terrible, why are you not beating him by a landslide? She was also asked in the interview about turning the page. We're going to turn a new page. This is a new way forward. And Brett was like, haven't you been around for the last 4 years? What are we turning the page from? She really tried to say, we're turning the page from Donald Trump. Kamala, you have... Kamala was also asked in the interview about comments she made back in 2019 about paying for transgender people to have surgeries in prison. Every time she was asked about her record, she would say, I'm going to follow the law. I will follow the law. Why don't you have an answer for why you have flip-flopped on so many policies in such a short time span? Now, the most egregious part of this interview is actually what happened off camera, and we found out afterward that Kamala Harris, she showed up late, they tried to whittle it down to 20 minutes, and then she had 4 staffers waving their arms frantically, trying to shut it down. Now, like I always say, I'm not owned by the RNC or the DNC. The only thing I'm beholden to is the truth. And the truth is, if Kamala Harris cannot handle a tough interview with substantive questions, how is she going to take on Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, and other world leaders? Kamala Harris talks about her record as a DA, as an attorney general, and she says she's this great attorney. I would rather have Elle Woods from Legally Blonde represent me in court than Kamala Harris. The way Kamala Harris was so unprepared for this interview speaks to my thesis that Kamala does not like to do hard work. The only way to get her to work is to leave a trail of margaritas into the Oval Office like Hansel and Gretel. What really cracks me up is that Kamala Harris talks about all these things she wants to pass when she gets into office. Well, number one, why haven't you done it the last 4 years? Number two, I don't even think Kamala could pass a breathalyzer test. Now, we still have many questions Kamala Harris has not answered for. What about the allegations against her husband, Doug Emhoff? From the things I've read and the allegations against her husband, I want to know, does Kamala Harris have to wear a hockey mask on date night? These are pretty damning allegations against Doug Emhoff. Something else no one has asked Kamala Harris about is that a few weeks ago, she was talking about doing price capping on groceries, eggs, milk, you name it. I want to know what happened to that. Is that still a policy she's pushing for? Another moment that really stuck out to me from the interview is that Kamala Harris was talking about Donald Trump and she said, you are responsible for your administration. Well, Kamala Harris, you just gave them the best attack ad they could have ever asked for. Following Kamala Harris's logic, if they're responsible for their administration, then you are responsible for yours. In conclusion, I imagine whoever scheduled this interview is probably being fired, and Kamala, they're definitely going to have to restock the mini fridge in her hotel room tonight. All right, thanks for liking and following. Drop a comment.
Okay, I had to start following him after that breakdown, honey, because he went in on her. He went in on her like no other, and I absolutely loved it. Now I want you all to hear what this lady had to say because she clearly loves Kabami. Support the arts. You like this? I just wanted to be fair and give, show a video of someone giving their criticisms about it, and then someone who's caping for Kabami, like support the arts. Okay, please pay attention because that last guy, he's funny as hell. Okay, he was on point.
Okay, so the interview with Fox News, Brett, somebody or other, and Kamala Harris just ended. And here's the assessment. Well, it wasn't actually an interview. This Brett guy spent the entire time talking over Kamala Harris. And my hope is that the level at which he was interrupting her, refusing to allow her to speak, talking over her, running right over her with his list of all of his questions, his queued up video clips. Basically, he was using the 25 minutes to indict Kamala Harris on behalf of the viewing audience.
This lady is clearly delusional because it was in fact Kabami who was talking over him and being very hostile and upset and angry and mad because she was being asked tough questions and this man clearly did his homework. He had the receipts. And so she didn't like that she was being pressed. You see, she can only do those softball question interviews. Those are the ones where she feels comfortable. But she was not prepared for this. He went in on her and she just couldn't take it. She was so mad. She looked like she wanted to punch him at one point. Okay, somebody on TikTok said she looked like she was about to cry at one point. But this lady's clearly delusional because at the end of the day, it was her who was in fact talking over him. And she was doing that because she was trying to control the interview. That's what she was trying to do. She was trying to control the interview.
Every single question, he spent about 15 minutes talking about immigration and would not let her speak, then switched over to the use of public money for gender reassignment in prisons. And then the rest of it was, 72% for this or for that. And why is that? And how come half of America, wants Donald Trump? I mean, the list of questions, the whole thing was a complete setup, which you could have expected. But the most offensive part of it was the extent to which the guy was talking over Kamala Harris. So the real question of...
Okay, she's clearly pressed. She was clearly pressed, okay? Now, at the end of the day, you know, it was a disaster as far as I'm concerned. And I kind of figured it would be because once again, Kabami was not she was not prepared. She didn't get her stuff together. And like they said, that question about the immigration and all of that, the border, she should have already been prepared to answer those questions as well as being asked about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities. Specifically, if she was going to mention Trump's and say that he's incompetent or say that, you know, he's in some sort of mental decline, those weren't her exact words. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what she was trying to say. So I just find it all interesting. So now we got to get into Obama and what he had to say. But before we do, I want to share this video of Dr. Julio, you know, saying that Kamala's mad with black men or whatever. And if Kamala Harris is for us, why didn't she marry a black man? This is what Dr. Julio asked his audience on TikTok. So let's get into it. Support the Art said Trump don't answer questions either. Oh yeah, he actually does. Trump actually does answer questions, in my opinion.
Somebody's definitely about to be offended at the question I'm about to ask, but I have to ask it. Kamala Harris, you so pro-black. Why are you not married to a black man? Again, this is not a knock on people that date interracially, because you can date who you want to date. Everybody should love who they want to love. But I just have a question. If you are so pro the black man, you are so pro the black family, you're so pro black America, you're so pro black men. The question I have for you is, why are you not married to a black man? That's all. That's just the question I would like answered, because we hear this all the time about how she's so for the people, she's so this and that. This is the same person that likes to sift in and out of blackness when it is politically convenient and expedient for her to do so. And this is why a lot of black people are waking up and saying, we're not going to support this. We're not going to support this person who puts on black. You can't put on blackness. You can't be black till it's time to genuinely be black. That doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. And we have to stop letting politicians across all parties, whether it's Republican or Democrat, get away with it. I've never seen Trump try to put on like he was black. I've never seen him try to do that. One, he can't, but I'm just saying, like, come on now. Like, let's be clear. You did.
Black people.
Okay? Please pay attention. Please pay attention. Now, like I told you guys, Obama called the actor Wendell Pierce because he apparently didn't like the fact that Wendell criticized him real quick. So let's get into it. Oh, and then don't let me forget. You know what? Okay, let me go in order. Before I go to that, let's finish the Kabami stuff because Geraldo Rivera had something to say about that interview. Now, I want you all to pay attention because on yesterday, I showed you a video where Geraldo Rivera was all for Kabami. Okay, he was talking about Trump, saying he's not for Trump, he is for Kabami. And so I want you all to hear someone who's actually for Kabami, what they have to say in their critique of her interview on Fox News. Because let's just be fair. Okay, I don't want to just show people that are against her, but let's show the people that are for her. All right, support the arts. Is that okay, beloved? Does that make you happy? Let's get into it.
The lack of preparation going into a the highest profile interview she has, as you described, Dan, the highest profile interview that she has given. For example, the Democrats knew that immigration was going to be all about immigration. They were going to come out, Brett was going to come out smoking on immigration, and he would culminate his lament over how awful the situation is with pictures of the victims. I mean, that's the Republican playbook. It was obvious that it was coming. How could she not be ready to answer Lincoln Riley and Molly Tibbetts and so forth? Let me just read this. This is from the father of Lincoln Riley. I think it's being used politically to get those votes. It makes me angry. I feel like they're just using my daughter's name, and she was much better than that. And she should be raised up for the person that she was. She was an angel. Why couldn't the vice president say these, as she did, that these are tragic deaths and the hearts go out and you're punched in the gut by it, but also say that these people or these poor victims are being used for political purposes? You know, to me, that's politics 101. I'm not a politician. I'm not an expert in this, but I know a thing or two about debates, and it just seems to me that she missed an opportunity. Her briefers did. And from this moment on, I advise them to not be the doormat when it comes to this issue. It is their.
And see, this is how you know she's a whole idiot, because she absolutely should have said just what he said. I don't like Geraldo, but in this case, he's right. That's what she should have done. She should have said, well, it's being politicized, and she should have expressed her sadness and her sympathy for the deaths of those people. But she didn't. She couldn't even do that. She's too worried about herself. But she wants us to think that Trump's only worried about himself. I just want you all to pay attention. And don't forget those videos that I showed you guys yesterday where Trump was back in the 80s and they were asking him to be president, and 3 different interview clips that I showed you guys. What was Trump constantly saying? What was the main thing that he kept saying? He kept saying that these other countries are ripping the United States off. He kept saying that they're ripping us off. They should be paying us. We should not be having these issues. But Kagame and Biden don't think that we're being ripped off. They think it's okay to send these other countries hundreds of billions of dollars. So if you're sending other countries hundreds of billions of dollars while your own people in your own country are living on the streets, some of them, specifically some of the veterans who actually fought for this country, who are now disabled, some of them suffer from mental health issues due to things that they experienced during their tenure in the military, and you don't have anything for them, you've nothing to offer them, but you have all of these hundreds of millions and billions to send to these other countries. And then to add insult to injury, you allow people to come from other countries and you give them all of these benefits that you don't even give your own citizens. So are Biden and Kagame for the United States citizens? And the answer is unequivocally no. The answer is they absolutely are not. Or they would not have allowed all of these people to come flooding across the borders and then giving them benefits for doing so. Okay, how do you get rewarded for breaking federal laws? I'm sorry, I missed that memo. Okay, so please pay attention. At the end of the day, and let's not forget, Geraldo is one of her supporters, and he even criticized her performance in this interview. You see, if you're being honest, this is what you have to do. If you want to lie to yourself and be delusional and suffer from cognitive dissonance, that's what you'll say. You'll say that she did a good job. It was Brett Baer's fault. He was going in hard. He was being hostile. He really wasn't. He was just asking tough questions that she refused to answer. And in doing so, she got angered, bothered, and became hostile. And we all should know that once you become hostile, you start to lose your logic. And that's why she sat there and brought up Trump's mental decline, as she was trying to say, but then couldn't answer with anything that made sense as to why. You didn't tell us about Biden's mental decline. You didn't have a problem with that. But now you have a problem with Trump. You think he's the issue, but Biden is the reason you're even sitting there. Okay, she couldn't admit to it. So it's just a sad case of, just ignorance as far as I'm concerned.
Their biggest Achilles heel. There's no doubt about it. If Donald Trump wins, it will be largely because of the immigration issue and the fact that Democrats not only blew the reality on the border over the last 3+ years, but they don't know how to respond to it, I think is malpractice.
All right, before I play more sound, Sean Spicer, reaction to the interview.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually largely in agreement with Geraldo. They knew this was coming, but more importantly, they did it for a reason, right? You went on Fox News to speak to an audience that you normally don't speak to. I kind of have adopted the phrase that other people have used called Kamala curious. People are willing to give her a thought or a pass because they don't know her. She didn't do any good tonight to move the needle in her direction. In fact, I would argue, for exactly the same reasons that Geraldo laid out, she was unable to answer the basic questions on immigration. She knew what was coming. And think about it. The View the other day asked her, what's the one thing that you would do different than Joe Biden? And her answer is, I can't think of anything. Those are layup questions that every candidate should be ready to answer. And I don't know if it's the staff or if it's her. Maybe it's a combination of both. But the reality is that you do an interview with a particular outlet to attract certain amount of support, hopefully from a constituency that they reach. She did Fox News for a reason, and she didn't do any favors for her campaign tonight. I would argue she actually moved the needle backwards. The bottom line is, you were right at the jump, Dan. When you look on conservative media tonight, everybody is mocking this debate. So if your goal was to reach people who normally watch Fox that might have been Kamala curious, you utterly failed.
Let me play a little more sound. This is Brett Baer asking her about President Biden's mental acuity. This is number 4.
He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable?
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George
is.
Clooney said within a few minutes of
watch
talking to President
Donald
Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same
Brett.
Joe Biden that we saw on the debate
Donald
stage.
Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out.
You know, Geraldo, I thought some of the questions felt like sort of, right-wing talking points. I thought that was a very fair question from Brett Baer there to ask about when she learned. I thought a number of his questions were very, very fair. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com.
Okay, so with that all been said, those people clearly support her, but they just didn't think that she did a good job. And if we're being honest with ourselves, we should all be able to say that she didn't do a good job. Okay? She didn't do a good job. And so Nandy said she's a professional, medically diagnosed the Don. Okay? I mean, she sounds ridiculous because at the end of the day, how is she worried about him, but she wasn't worried about Biden. All right. Coco V said she's so dumb and exhausted. Absolutely. I agree. I absolutely agree. Okay. So like I said, I was being fair. Okay. I showed what the people that are for her had to say, as well as the people who are against her. And I believe that the questions absolutely were fair. The questions were more than fair. Okay, she should have answered them rather than trying to deflect and gaslight and then play the Trump card. Okay, like she's in a game of spades. Okay, like she's holding all the trumps because that's what she was doing. I want you all to pay attention. She was holding all the trumps. Please pay attention. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, she really did miss an opportunity because when you go on a show like Fox, right? I was thinking that she's going on there to try to appeal to the people who are usually Trump supporters. Like she would go on there and try to talk about her policies and just different things that she's going to do moving forward and her, presidency and all of that so that she could try to woo some of Trump's supporters. But she clearly missed the mark so desperately because rather than doing that, she got hostile and angry, refused to answer questions directly. Everything was always about Trump. Does she really think that that's going to appeal to the viewers? To the viewing audience? And I did, by the way, read some of the comments, and people were just going in on her in those comments, talking about how she was making a fool of herself. Okay, so at the end of the day, this was really a missed opportunity. She's a sinking ship as far as I'm concerned. Now, I do believe that she will unfortunately become the president, but that's because I think it's all by design. And you all know what design I'm talking about, so please pay attention. And not to mention, I did read on yesterday, and I don't know how true this is. I can't substantiate this, but I did see a video yesterday. I didn't read it. I actually saw a video where they were saying that it's been said that the Democrats have said, and I don't know if they actually said this, but something along the lines of that if Trump does win, that there will not be a transference of power. Okay, that they're going to fight it. So that's what you ought to pay attention. They're desperate at this point. And if that's true, it just speaks to how desperate they actually are. Okay, so now let's go to Wendell Pierce talking about Barack Obama calling him after he gave some criticisms about Barack's comments to Black men. Please pay attention.
Years now, and a mutual contact, said that he wanted to speak. I wanted to speak to him. I didn't offer it as a criticism. For me, it was nothing more than strategists in a room saying, hey, what is the best messaging for Black men? I have focused the past 6 weeks of going around the country with a barbershop campaign, right? Going to barbershops to talk to Black men, since I heard this every election cycle, they always say that Black men are siphoned off. And I found the most effective way to communicate to the men in those gatherings was saying, what do you want? Vote for what you want, declare what your values are, and then go out and make the choice on that. Don't.
Now, isn't that what I've been telling you guys? To vote for whatever or whomever is in your best interest? You see, I don't try to force my opinions or views on anyone. I'm just up here giving my opinion, telling you the facts and truth. And at the end of the day, I'm not trying to force my opinions on anyone. But you see, that's what Blue MAGA is doing. That's what Blue MAGA is doing. And when they see and realize that we're not falling for the banana in the tailpipe ever again, we're just not going for it, beloveds. When they see that, they get angry and hostile, okay, and aggressive, just like she got on that Fox interview. And you see, this is why we have nicknamed them Blue MAGA. Okay, because the same things they try to lie and say about Trump are the same things that they're Kabami of Nazareth, because they act like she's Jesus, some of them. That's the same thing that she does. But let's continue.
Consider my candidate or the other candidate, vote for what you want. And I found it to be effective. What they would say is, what are you doing here? This is the first time someone came and asked that of me. And so I was saying simply, that's not the way to get to folks. What I've experienced in the past 6 weeks is the facts. Folks want to see, what have you delivered?
Did he acknowledge that it was not delivered the right way?
We actually didn't get into which was better or if it was criticism. It was saying that we were on the same page. We just wanted to clear it. We wanted to make sure that we were on the same page and that we wanted to reach out to folks. And I think it's just a matter of messaging, one way or the other, and that the focus shouldn't be on the criticism or what is perceived as criticism or what is perceived as the right way or the wrong way to get to Black men. It's the first thing is to approach and engage Black men, accept the challenge, and get out the vote.
I mean, Coleman, we had you on last week when this happened. You were critical of it then. And you probably believe, I assume, that there is some movement toward the right among Black men.
I mean, we've been talking about that not only on this show, on other shows on this network for over a year. Pew has been studying this issue. There is a clear trend among Black men towards the Republican Party and away from Democrats. It's not just about Trump or Biden or Kamala. It's about a party effect. And the question is, why is that? I think it's even bigger than Black men. I think it's men in general. I think there's something about the Democratic Party that is
significant.
A lot.
It's
probably
significant.
20 different
We've had the
say
same
differently.
conversation going all the way back.
No, actually, it's really a phenomenon of
And the fact is, in this election,
past 8 years.
Give me any candidate who wouldn't want 85% of any demographics vote.
Trump
that's what
actually got more of the Black vote in 2020 than
No, he actually got 3 points. You're actually right. He got 3 more points. He got 3 more points.
You also think it's not
a trend line. A trend line is not 4. It's not 3 points.
Burying your head in the sand isn't going to fix
I
it.
know, and that's why we're going around messaging to people.
Right, but I think the problem Obama had, I think the problem Obama had, and I even reacted to it when he did it, and I've been on the other side of when Obama does that. It's the sort of lectury chiding Obama without treating them in a respectful manner. I didn't find that a respectful way to treat anybody, and immediately really pushing hard on identity politics over what do you want as a person, as a not just a man, as a person in American society. And I think there's a part of Obama that is the hope person, and then there's that. And I don't think that's an effective way. I think you're 100% right.
I think what he was saying is something that we've all been saying, and that's something that, I mean, as offensive as Donald Trump is to Black men, it's very hard for a Black man to understand why would someone vote for.
Right.
It's racist actions, it's racist words, it's racist policies, right? And so that was the thing that's in the front. And so what I said was reactionary. I said, yeah, the president shouldn't speak to them that way. Because I have found that something is more effective.
Right.
It was seen as criticism, you know, and that's valid. I don't think that's as much an issue as the point of making sure that we continue to talk to them and get them out to the polls. And the trend that you're talking about is not that, it will not be that significant.
It's on the
Will not be,
margins.
it's on the margins, and those 2 or 3 points may add up to something, and that's why we're engaging Black men. That's why the vice president has put out a platform to answer some of those challenges.
This is a key question, actually, because
I
I wanted to ask you the policies in that. I mean, effectively, she said, I'm going to give you marijuana, I'm going to give you crypto, and I'm going to give you unconstitutional government bribes. If a white Republican politician had done that, we would be in 24/7.
That is a real disservice to an actual substantive policy platform.
To me, it was completely
pandering
from
Scott. Okay, young people, regardless of their race, they want to hear about crypto. They want to hear about marijuana.
Black men. It was stated.
Decriminalization.
Yeah, it was stated because Black men asked, "What are you going to do for me?" Hold on, Scott.
The idea that those are just
saying that this is what
Black men is, I think, not true.
It's not loans for Black men. It's loans for anyone. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. She was telling you this will be effective for you too.
For you also.
That I had already put out a week ago, actually a month ago. That these entrepreneurial loans will be beneficial to you. Just like I tell Black folks, it is a Black policy. Social Security is a Black policy. Medicare is a Black policy. It is effective, and it impacts your community as much as anyone else's community.
All right,
so
everyone.
it is not identity politics. It's actually American politics.
No, I have to disagree with him on that because it actually is identity politics. If you're having people go out and try to coerce people, because that's what Obama was doing, he was trying to coerce them. If you have people going out and trying to coerce people, in hostile ways and lecturing and pointing the finger, you're absolutely engaging in identity politics. That's just what it is. That's exactly what you're doing. And I want you all to pay attention to the gender divide, okay? Because the Democrats are known for trying to play gender politics, is what I call it. They want to separate Black men from the Black women. And Obama went out there and was pointing the finger of blame and shame at the Black men, where there are many Black women who don't want to vote and don't support her either. Okay. And I'm so glad that Wendell Pierce said what he just said, because that goes back to what I told you on yesterday. That policy that she's saying is a Black agenda or an agenda for Black men is all a load of BS. I told you guys, that's not for Black men, it's for anyone. It says Black men and others. Okay, so he just said that, and I'm glad that he did, because that just reiterates my point. Did he think he was doing her a favor when he said that? Well, it just goes to expose her even further that she has nothing specifically for Black men. She's full of cap, just like I told you guys. And I said cap, not crap, because I'm just calling her a liar, and that's what she is. Now, with that all being said, I want you all to pay attention, because some of these actors and actresses, some of these celebrities, shall I say, who are coming out and trying, and I'm not talking about Wendell Pierce, but what I am saying is that you all need to pay attention, because some of these celebrities who are trying to get you to follow Kabami are some of the same celebrities that were at those Diddy parties. Lest we forget. Some of them are some of the same people who were at those Diddy parties. Okay, so just don't forget that. All right, now, so who are they to try to tell us anything? And let's not forget that Obama was cool with Diddy too. But he's trying to tell people what to do. Yeah, I don't think we want to hear it. But let's talk about Trump for a minute. Let's talk about Trump for a minute, because according to Rolling Stone, Trump once again tries to silence Stormy Daniels before the election. Now, Donald Trump was found guilty of 34 felonies and falsifying business records. We know all of that. Okay, but here's the thing. Rachel Maddow brought this to the forefront on yesterday. So on Wednesday, MSNBC host Rachel Maddow reported that Trump's attorney reached out to Daniels to try to get another hush money deal by offering to pretend that Stormy Daniels owed less money to Trump than they actually believed she owed. Despite Trump's conviction, Daniels still owed the former president more than $500,000 in legal fees related to a failed 2018 defamation case brought by Daniels against Trump. Citing a call and documents from Daniels' attorney reviewed by MSNBC, Maddow said that this time Trump and his attorney were apparently planning to launder the new hush money payment to Stormy Daniels through the payment of a legal judgment. It's all nefarious. Now, during the news segment, Maddow shared an image of the email obtained from Daniels' attorney. In the alleged letter from Trump's attorney, his attorney offered to settle the owed legal fees for $620,000 if Daniels agreed in writing to make no public or private statements related to any alleged past interactions with President Trump or defamatory or disparaging statements about him, his business, and any or other affiliates, or his suitability as a candidate for president. Now, Maddow stated that after Daniels declined the offer, Trump's attorney sent another email stating that the case would be settled for $635,000, with no mention of a non-disclosure agreement. The host said that Daniels eventually settled for $627,500 and did not sign an NDA. Now, Maddow said that MSNBC reached out to Trump's Florida attorney handling the negotiations and thought their request was forwarded to his campaign team. In response, Trump's spokesperson, Stephen Cheung, claimed the purported documents were obtained as part of an illegal foreign hacking attack against President Trump and his team. Now, Cheung added that their team was working with authorities to determine the legal repercussions for those likely committing federal offenses by posting and utilizing stolen material by a terror regime adversaries. So in September, the Justice Department charged 3 men with hacking Trump's presidential campaign. I wonder who set that up. Okay, Maddow acknowledged that while some emails between attorneys for Trump and Daniels did turn up online, MSNBC received the documents directly from Daniels' legal team. I mean, they could easily say that. Well, with that all being said, so they offered to charge her less money. Okay, Trump, please sit down. At this point, both parties are desperate. Okay, shall I say both candidates are desperate? Because Kabami clearly is. All right. And now Trump's attorney trying to, charge Stormy less legal fees or whatever it was. That was clearly them trying to get her to agree to the NDA. But she's not going to agree to it. And I don't really even know why they would want her to agree to it, because everything that she's already said, we already know it. Okay, and we're not going to forget it. Okay, so that's just what that is. At the end of the day, I don't really care about Trump and Stormy Daniels. But what I do care about is the 320,000 missing migrant children that just mysteriously vanished under Biden and Kabami's watch. That's what I have questions about. And I also have a few questions, if I may, about what happened to the executive from Burisma over in the Ukraine who was going to spill all the tea and talk about the financial crimes and all that when Hunter Biden was working over there for Burisma, getting paid $50,000 per month. Okay, and then they wanted him to put them in touch with the big guy, is what they call Biden. I wanted to know what happened to him. I still have questions. How did this man die all of a sudden? Was he murked? Did someone take him out, perhaps to silence him? I have questions because he was supposed to give this information. See, that's what we need to be talking about. Nobody cares about this whole Trump and Stormy Daniels things. That's old news. Okay, so nice try, Democrats, but we're not falling for it. Okay, we will not be sidetracked. Okay, that's what we won't do. We will not be distracted, is all I'm saying. So with that all being said, let's have a word from our sponsor, okay, over at 12 Tribes. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
right, so don't forget you can purchase your 12 Tribes oil at Etsy.com. Look for Lisa Crafts, and also you can find it at Walmart.com. Okay, so Amma says, where have all the children gone? Yeah, exactly. That's a good question, beloved. That's exactly what I would love to know. Okay, so now for those of you who need the link to the backup channel, I just dropped it in the chat. Now it is 12 o'clock. I will be on the backup channel at 12:30. Okay, I'm about to create the link right now. We got to talk about some things on the backup channel, so I hope to see you all there. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share before you leave. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. Okay, I love you all to life. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got